I'm Jim Bahari.
And I'm Melody Davis.
Welcome to the first issue of Vintage Vehicle Videos.
Throughout this issue, you will see footage that we've collected over the past 2 years.
Onto car shows, swap meets, museums, salvage yards, and also the garages of private collectors like you. We're trying to bring you a whole wide variety of footage, something to appeal to just about everybody.
Let's go see some footage.
One of the very first events that we videotaped, November of 1999 in Dayton, Ohio, when the Buckeye Model A Ford put on another swap meet and car show.
Yes, it's sound. It's a 28 Model T Speedster, the 14 Roadster. Gas tanks have a 14 Roadster. And it was converted with a drive to fit this engine. And like I say, the Ford Model B. There's no dipstick on this car, and that's how you check the oil. A lot of these farm tractors, earlier stage, oil run out of there, you just find you know it's full of oil. If it didn't, in doubt how low it was, you'd open the bottom, and if you noted the bottom and there was no oil, you knew you needed a lot of oil. It's kind of your natural instinct to a car, you push the clutch down, you stop. Well, not with this thing, you push the clutch down. And well, like I said, the first pedal is your clutch. It says clutch, it says C. That I guess it is when you got to pull it in neutral position and to pull up on it. And then the center one is reversed, and because which actually is not a brake, a mechanical brake to the wheel, it's a brake transmission.
And the brake to the wheel is out there.
Yes, yes. The only thing that's stopped. Then of course with the ring column, the foot throttle also. The car I raced it usually, be 4 years.
9 Ford fire truck. It was originally purchased in 15. The body started out as a 1915 chain drive Rio, 15 until 1938. The New Lebanon Fire Department needed a 1915 chain drive Rio. It was pretty sold, so the town of New Lebanon bought it. They also bought a 1929 Ford ice truck. They threw the ice truck body and all that stuff away, transferred over rear tires. There's a little extra room. That was for the chain drive. Underneath the New Lebanon, it'll say Eaton, Ohio. You can see where it's been painted, fire department, from 1938. So either another truck over here with a pump in the back, and 4 firemen would pull it out, flop one end of the hose in a pump. Here, this is called a 2-inch hard line, and goes into a 1-inch. So you had to park this thing fairly close to a fire. This fire truck was used as a, going to have to take their brand trucks out.
Was this for people to hold on
the back? It was retired. Then it was basically from them in 1971. Plan to maintain it. We don't want to restore. We just want to have fun with it and enjoy it. We're not going to hurt it if it gets on.
And I drive it and keep it running. 27 was the last year for the usually take steps on the lower and one up on the
ago. It's all wood, and the origin into the carburetor by ashing down. Break your arm here.
Bought all of 39 metal and all the, we'll get away with this, and of course it's about 40, which uses the same body, and then in 60 years, so you got a problem. So I learned a lot about the car, making it off and so forth.
Look at that door sedan. Now, if any city, I put it back together with the 1950 Sears on top of it, and also the motorized siren. Underneath the hood, the 6-cylinder engine with a Power Glide transmission behind it. I just tried to dress this one up a little bit when we redid it as a fire chief's car equipment running around on the streets anymore. So I use it to parade with my grandkids, and we turn a lot of heads. And I do use a CB radio on it when I'm out there on the road, just to be able to talk to the people that are going by and saying, wow. So we do carry on some conversation when we're going back and forth to a meet, and have a lot of fun, because that's what it's all about.
Okay, well, this is my 1930 Model A Roadster Deluxe. I bought this car about 2 years ago. It was pretty well restored when I got it. It used to be a show car, and I just thoroughly enjoy it, and I get a lot of nice compliments on when I'm driving it down the road, that it's a very enjoyable hobby that we have. And the Dayton Model A Club, which has probably already been told several times, is a very active club. And whenever you have any problem with your car at all, you always have more help than you want. You know, my grandchildren just love to take rides in it, and they usually prefer the rumble seat. But I primarily drive it. I just enjoy driving the car.
Right after the Dayton swap meet, we ran into a gentleman named Jim Henry, who had a great 1941 Ford he showed us.
This one here is 1941 Ford. I've had this car probably about 7 or 8 years. I had one when I was 20 years old. By the way, my name is Jim Henry. It's a Ford Deluxe that has a V8, 100 horsepower, flathead they call them. It has hydraulic brakes, 3-speed transmission. It was used by the Highway Patrol and all the law enforcement in those days because it was the fastest car on the road at the time. I mean, fast getaway. Now, top speed on the highway, you take the big Packards and so forth, then you're talking with some endurance there. But this car was well liked by the law enforcement. Isn't this beautiful? The material back in those days. Now, here's another feature about this car. Most of your cars up to that year had the running board. You could stand on here and all the guys hanging on the running board, 8 or 10 of them driving down the road, you know. But now this eliminated that, so they had to get inside. So they put the running board inside. Yeah, get a good view of that dash. I think it's beautiful. Ford was one of the first that I can recall. This is a lock steering wheel. This is strong, strong, strong. It was a hard car to steal. That was a real trademark for Ford, that round pedal like that. Probably one of the best engines ever built, these little flatheads. This car will run well over 100 miles an hour. Cars of today has tried to get back to a degree. In fact, we call the cars, I think, back a few years ago because that's the only way you get room. You're right back to the same way now. Look at the room you have in this car. And this car is not, as you can see, it doesn't look real big and giant. But look at the room. You can haul 6 people in this car, no problem.
One day back in September of 2000, after videotaping a wedding, I stumbled upon a great kite festival that Newark puts on every year, and they just had a lot of great out there. came from. And
yeah, my name is Robert Fox from Circleville, Ohio. The car is a 1948 Buick Super Convertible. It's been altered. It has a 455 cubic inch stage 1 engine, 400 transmission, and the car looks in appearance stock, but Toyota and brought it home and then.
What kind of shape was it in when you got it?
It was actually in very good shape. The paint, and I've been on about 11 years. It was 10, 11 years ago.
Curtis George, in Lancaster, Ohio. It's a 1964 Chrysler Newport. It's the body is like the same body, I believe. I've seen them all, but it's just a difference in the trim that they put on the cars and the extras that they have. I like this car. I take it more than any of the others to the shows because it's unique. You don't see very many of these at all.
Yeah, I know.
And so I just like to drive it. It's a very nice driving car. Push button transmission. Has a 361 V8.
Okay. My name is Brent Clark and I'm from Coshocton, Ohio. I've owned the car since 1976. And then in 1985 I tore it apart. It's been apart since then until June 9th of this year. So the small block Chevrolet engine is called a mouse engine, mouse motor, and a big block Chevrolet was called a rat motor. Well, being that this is injected, that's how I got the name Injected Mouse. And if you looked in the trunk, you saw the mouse being injected by a hand, and the idea was he was injected, he came through the car, came out underneath the hood. The injector was built by a gentleman by the name of Craig Railsback. He's from Whittier, California. And he actually flew in here to tune this engine when I got it completely done. So,
my name is Jake Andrews, and I live in Coshocton, Ohio. And this particular Cameo is the last one that General Motors manufactured. They've done 1,405 of them in 1958. This is the very last one off the assembly line. We've done it over 3 times now, and each time we just try to improve it, make it better and better. It was a very nice Arizona truck when we started on it. And it was nice and pristine. It was very easy to do. And we've had a tremendous amount of success over the United States with it. And I have some more of these that we're in the process of restoring now. I'd like to end up with a collection of a 55, 6, 7, and 8. And I have a 6 and a 7 and the 8. I'm looking for a 55 that was made in Los Angeles. And I'm looking to buy any and all Cameo parts. And I guess that's about it.
If you're ever traveling through Northeast Ohio, make a point of stopping by the Canton Classic Car Museum. They've got a lot of great cars, everything from brass era cars to muscle cars. And they have tons of memorabilia and all kind of automobilia just lining the walls. Everywhere you look, you see something new.
Hello, I'm Gary Pelger. I'm the operations manager here at the Canton Classic Car Museum. Promised Jim a little tour here, so if you'd follow along with us. We'll start in this room, and this room is kind of the main hall where you come in. And because of the door openings we have here, we have the smallest cars available in this room. First one here is a 1916 Woods Mobilette, which is on loan to us from the AACA Museum in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which has yet to be built. So we'll probably have the car for some time till they get their museum built. It's very similar to a Model T Ford, but if you think compact cars are something new, this is proof they're not. It seats 2. It has staggered seating because of the narrowness of the car. And another good reason for the staggered seating is you have to crank start this car, and there's no door on that side. It's just an outline of a door if you look at it closely. So, and the Model Ts were built the same way. So the driver has to crawl in through here and past his passenger and get the throttle and the spark set correctly after he's got it crank started. And so that just gives him a little speedier access. Next car was built right in Athens, Ohio, here in Ohio. Some of you people my age can remember these being advertised in Popular Mechanics magazine and Popular Science. It was advertised and touted as the second car. That's right after World War II. everybody had one car and they were pushing for 2 cars so the housewife could do her grocery shopping. Where she would have put her groceries in this car is beyond me, because the engine's in the rear and this doesn't open. So she's got one seat beside her for a bag of groceries. That's about it. This is our 1958 Bliss Surrey. Bliss Company was here in Canton, Ohio. And a very interesting story, during the Eisenhower recession in 1958, the company had lost all its orders for big presses, which is basically what Bliss Company was known for. And rather than lay their people off like we hear so much about today, they contracted with another company to build and sell this 1901 Curve Dash Oldsmobile replica. It's 100% the same size as a matter of fact. I can show you another original car in the museum later, but it's a replica. They rolled the steel. They built and sold 500 of these. An Amish buggy factory made the wheels, and even the step plate here was the same thing you'll find on Amish buggies in the area. These sold for about $1,200, and they could come in either kit form or they bring them to you delivered. The options was they could put a back seat on the rear facing out the rear, and there was a Surrey top. I've only seen one car equipped with a Surrey top. I've never seen one with a back seat. But this is our example of one. The museum itself was initiated and started with a private collection of Marsh Belden, who made his fortune in the oil and gas business. Marsh collected big antique cars, and you'll see some of them in a bit. His wife was a little bored with the cars, kind of the same way my wife is, and my wife collects old magazines while I'm looking for car parts. Marsh's wife collected antiques, and as he brought his cars into the building, she brought her things into the building. So everything you see here that's extra in this building is all Mrs. Belden's hobby. This is an extension of her living room is what it is. Marsh passed away about 6 years ago, but Mrs. B is still living, and she comes in 2 or 3 times a week with another station wagon full of antiques that she's picked up somewhere. So the decor is constantly changing in here. We try to rotate cars around. She rotates everything else. She's the true curator of the museum. The second room that you'll see when you come through the museum is what we call the Canton room. Everything in this room pertains to Canton, Ohio. It's all mostly all Mrs. Belden's collection of, she just loves Canton-related items. If she finds it in a gift shop or an antique shop, she'll purchase this. There's an awful lot of photos. A lot of it is industry-related. Now, if you look in some of the cases here, we have items that were made in Ohio, items related to the Football Hall of Fame, the Canton Repository, the local newspaper. The Timken Company is here in town. Diebold, that makes the safes, is here in town. Whatever we managed to collect has something to do with most of these companies. The interesting thing is the automobile at the end of the room here is the Holmes automobile. Mr. Holmes was the chief engineer at the Franklin Company in Buffalo, New York, and he hated the weather in Buffalo. And I can understand why. They just had 7 feet of snow about a month ago. But so he came back to Canton, his hometown, and he built a similar automobile to the Franklin. The Franklin was air-cooled, so was his. This car is a Doctor's Coupe. It was made in 1922. The price of a Doctor's Coupe with this particular car is $4,000. And that doesn't sound like much today, but if you put it in perspective, you could buy a new Model T that year for $385. So $4,000, that's why he built his coupes here. Probably the only people in town could afford one. And the passenger front seat is really not much more than a stool. It folds up, clear up underneath the dashboard, so that he has to take one of his patients. He's making house calls, understand. If he had to take a patient to the doctor's or to the hospital, you could fold that up and practically him out on a stretcher in there. This room we call the cemetery room, the center of the room. That's a matched set of 1937 Packard hearse, have never been split up since the day they were new. The buttons on the doors would accommodate that particular funeral home's sign that was using it that day. Say it was Smith Funeral Home, they'd have their own sign that would snap on the doors. And when Jones Funeral Home used it the next day, they'd put their sign on it. This is a V12, very, very rare. It's a Miller Art car in the back, and it's a V12 engine. The Super 8, more of a standard job. These are custom bodied by Miller. And 80 mile an hour all day long. I don't know who needs it. In addition, DeLorean, this car has not actually been driven. They had owned it. We call it the $500,000 DeLorean because Johnny Carson had invested $500,000 in John DeLorean's company, and in return, this car to drive. When the company went into receivership, the car was repossessed from Johnny, and some local people in Pennsylvania own the car today. The cars at the museum are on loan. Some are owned by the museum, and some of them are still fresh. And I love to show people this car to see what in the restoration process. This is a 1914 Benz in one family, and I think this is one of 19 built in Detroit. This is probably the only one in existence. I've never heard of it in the museum. This is what we call our 50s and 60s room. This building was put up, I think, erected around 1900. This building started out life at assembly points for Model T Fords. The building at that time, it burned off later, that came in on the local railroad spur, and this is where they would have been the showroom where they sold the Fords. We have some of the of the 50s. We have the probably 18 or so feet long, and we have a DeSoto Adventure, which 6 Thunderbird down the, and then 2 more unusual cars. We have the Superbird in the stock car races in those days. This is without, matter of fact, it was the very first car. We have a 1962 amphibious convertible. I've never seen a hardtop one, but these actually did fodder plenty of times. Interesting side note with it, the assembled cars here had their own engineering department, and during 2 prototypes of a 10-hour Lake town, and the other was for driving it in the water. Once they put it in the water, the prototypes built these cars. They do them in the water. I wouldn't take them in the ocean, but for small lakes like Lake Cable around here, Myers Socket, you keep moving, and you can see the propellers on the back. But they water a leak up around the shore. He left it at the dock, the water. So probably quite a few of these were sunk in their day and then dug back up. That's more like how they float. You can see the water's going to run right through here, below the belt line. We've actually entered this car in the... This is a 37 Packard limousine. It's in our main room, classic cars. And I call that classic with a copy. Chevy Bel Airs as classics, and they're not actually classics with a small C. This is a classic with a big C. Out to you. This limousine is one of 2 built by the Packard Company. Now that one was built for Franklin Roosevelt. This one I know was built for a car, and it's called an invalid car because they referred to them as invalids in those. It's a ramp that came from the factory that fastens, it locks into position while you're driving, just snare out. The other unusual feature for a limousine is it has a split front seat, and this seat will lift right out of the car. And this center post is actually removable, and until I worked here, I'd never seen anything like it, but it's got 2 thumbs. Take this host out, put a stretcher victim in the car. Generals actually drove limousines like this in World War II arrangement so that they could put stretcher for medics. And it's a fun car to drive. Probably, as antiques go, the most drivable car actually drives like an automobile, whereas some of the big Lincolns and Pierce Arrows drive more like driving a semi-truck. They're heavy. They've got V8s, V12s, V16s in some cases. They don't steer as well. The bigger the engine, the more power the car has, but they didn't have power steering in those days, and you can really build up some arms driving these things. Okay, this is probably, in my opinion, the most beautiful car ever designed. It was designed by Gordon Brewery, who worked at the time for the Auburn Cord Duesenberg factory. This is a 1937 supercharged Cord Phaeton convertible. It was designed strictly with the Hollywood crowd in mind. It probably retailed at not that much in today's standards, but it was around $3,000 to $4,000 range with the supercharger and everything on it. Probably one of the fastest cars ever built in that day and age. Had a lot of trouble. It's the first car with disappearing headlights. If you'll notice the headlights down here on either side. I don't know if you can see them with the mannequins in front of it, but they mold right into the fender. A lot of cars do that today that are vacuum operated. This one actually has 1 crank for each headlight on each side of the dashboard. It's also front-wheel drive, and it gave a lot of trouble to people that owned them in the 30s. It was the first front-wheel drive car, and it was never really quite perfected. As a matter of fact, when the Cord Company went out of business in the mid-30s, this was the last year the car was built, the dies went to both Graham and Hupmobile, and into the 40s they were still making cars designed like this. And I would imagine the Graham or the Hupmobile were actually easier to operate because underneath they were just a standard car, whereas this had a lot of engineering innovations, which is what makes it the true classic. This is a 31 Lincoln Judkins Berlin design. Rather than standard from the factory, a lot of cars were custom built in those days at certain shops. The Lincoln Company or the Packard or any of the big companies would send these cars. And this was done at the Judkins Berlin factory. And if you'll notice, the touches that a special coach builder, this car especially, is the windshield. It's a split V-shaped windshield that actually points forward. Really gives us a touch of class. The car's done in different shades of burgundy. Probably with the lighting you can't really tell, but outdoors it's quite a sight to see. And by comparison, this is a mechanically restored 32 Lincoln. It's a Dietrich body, but it still carries a very similar windshield. And that's an awfully long car that seats 2 people. Next car in line is a V16 Cadillac convertible sedan, 4 doors. It's a unique experience to drive a 16-cylinder car. They're very powerful. They're not fast as we consider cars today because they're just not geared that way, but you can pull tree stumps with these things. Okay, we've probably all seen one of these cars before. If you think about it, it's a 1907 Renault town car, very similar to the car that was used in the Titanic movie. I think just about everyone's seen the movie. Some of these cars, they didn't change body style much. And there are some on the bottom of the ocean on the Titanic. They were shipped from England and they were coming to the United States. These were the limousines of their day. This is what's really unique about this car is it belonged to the president of Chile. It's very low mileage, original. This car has never been restored, with the exception, I would guess, that the seats have been redone in the front, but they definitely have not been done in the back. And that's the original cloth interior. The window, of course, comes down on the front there, and Malay drive in the back and speak to the driver through that horn. And there's just turn right, pull over, you know, that sort of thing. You want to stop at the millinery shop or whatever. And it's just a beautiful car and in fantastic condition when you consider its age, approaching 100 years, and then it's 95 years old. And to find a car in this condition after that length of time, what you can normally hope for is the Benham that we discussed earlier. This is another car that's on loan to the museum. It's a 1906 Rio, R-E-O, and if you were familiar with that, that's Ransom Eli Osmo, or Olds, I should say. He started the Oldsmobile, sold it to General Motors in like 1903 or 4, and its own factory building the Rio automobile. Rio ran right into the 30s. I think is its companion here. And the companion is a factory-built 1/2 scale Rio automobile they used for promotional events. And it took a long search for the owner of these cars to find this car, but search for it. He restored it just to match the big one. They're really unique. I'm only guessing, but I would guess it's maybe worth $40,000, $50,000 in that range. One of a kind, built by the factory, and a running out 1/2 scale, priceless. Nobody could put a price on it. Rolls-Royce going to have enough trouble getting into, so I don't think I'll try to drive this. 1906, when the car debuted at Madison Square Garden, it's Big Tim at the wheel. A lot of people see a hard wheel. Here's a size popular in its day. Public was designed in some for a few years. Oldsmobile did make trucks, and this is a 1919 Oldsmobile truck. And recently, I was watching one of the Grapes television. If you remember the old beat-up truck that they were driving in that movie, I realized it was a 1919 Oldsmobile as well. 1930, bought 3 fire trucks. All I did. This is the unrestored one. The fire department still owns a totally restored one, and the third one gave up its life for parts for these two. So it could use a restoration, but it's kind of unique to see it just the red Metropolitan is in New York, better bed and breakfast to stay at, you know, and said it was the most dangerous thing he's ever driven in his life. It can't get out of its own way. It only does about a mile an hour. If a semi-truck rolls up beside you, you're the same size as the tire, you know, in there. And that's how you get in. The gear shift is on the left hand. This little tube here is your defroster. They weren't luxury. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for visiting the museum, the gift shop area. We have books and models and things that are car related for sale to the public, and I'd like to encourage your viewers to come and visit us. We're open 7 days a week from 10 to 5, so we're here every day, with the exception of Christmas morning. They'll let us go home and open our presents, and then we'll be back. But we're, like I say, 7 days a week, 10 to 5, and right downtown Canton at 6th and Market South.
Located right in the middle of Columbus, Ohio, is a salvage yard that actually has some of the old 50s and 60s cars still in it. Even though they have to recycle a lot of the cars that come in just due to space constraints, they still keep a lot of the older cars around.
Hi, I'm here with Paul Baker at All City Auto Wrecking. Paul, how long have you been here?
25 years.
25 years?
Mm-hmm.
In the same spot?
Uh-huh.
I noticed that you're one of the only salvage yards in Columbus that has older vehicles. Do you have a lot of them?
I've got 2,000 vehicles here, probably got a couple hundred of them that's in the 50s, 60s, another 200 or 300 early 70s. And I personally have probably 25 antique or collector cars. That's part of my hobby.
See, and you didn't have a computer or anything, so you know whatever is out there in your head. So you just got it all memorized, the whole 2,000 cars. I noticed that. That's impressive. Now you're looking at the whole yard. And way back in the back, you'll find me with a 1957 Pontiac Super Chief. Behind me is a mid-60s Pontiac station wagon. As you can see, the cars are packed in here pretty tightly, but behind me we have 60s luxury vehicles. If you look, there's the blue one and the brown one right next to it. Those are Cadillacs. Right next to it to the left, you'll see a Lincoln Continental with suicide doors. Also Thunderbirds. Even though they're packed in pretty tightly and everything's close together, you can see what to offer. Here I am standing on an old tire in the middle of, here we have a old Ford with, it happens to have a 1973 Ohio State University on it. Here we are on the other side of the vehicles. This is the Ford Crestline. The bright work looks to be okay. Glass is still salvageable. I see we have some surface rust here, but it doesn't look too dented, so this might be usable as well. And I just got really muddy. Next to me we have a Nash. Now we're next to the Nash. Some of the sheet metal might be salvageable. The glass looks to be in fair condition. Behind the Nash we have a Hudson. This is the Superjet. I like the bright work over little visors over the windows, and as you can see, it has the shield. And then next to the Hudson, we have a Lincoln Continental. Right here with the Lincoln Continental, I think it's a 59 or a 60. As you can see, it's got the canted headlights. Overall, I don't think the car looks bad. I'm sure sitting in the mud, the bottom's probably all rusted, but the interior doesn't look too bad. Beyond that, we have a Pontiac. We'll get that from the other side. Okay, so here we have what we believe to be a 1960 Pontiac.
Back in a corner that's kind of hard to get to, I'm back here. We also have an old Pontiac there, at about a 57 or so Pontiac. Well, there's kind of hard to get to a lot of these cars here, though. We'll just get a quick shot of these, and then well, there's an old wagon.
Diamond around, you actually might find the diamond in the rough. Okay, back in the corner by the fence, as you can see, we found some cars that have been here for some time. Over there we got some cars from the 50s. Right on here we have some cars from the 70s. Back behind me, we got some cars from the 60s. All mixed in among the new vehicles. Here we are with the 38 Buick. Not much left of it. Back behind me is an old Ford station wagon. Here's an still in it. Look at this Ford. And right next to it we have a mid-60s Galaxy. Here's a row of some old 60s cars, including a Ford station wagon. Check out that old Ford. There's a 61, 62 Buick. And right over here is a couple of old Fords. Hey, that old 60s Mercury still has its taillights. Cool looking. Whoa! Look at all these parts. Everything. Well, we've only seen a small fraction of what All City Auto Wrecking has to offer, with old cars, parts, and things like that. It's kind of a scavenger hunt, but if you're willing to get out here and look, you might find something that you could really use.
Here's a film we hope you'll enjoy. One of my favorite parts is the part where the narrator talks about how the lady has trouble with her power brakes because she didn't tighten the belts on her car. And tell me if you think that's right.
His brakes. Fortunately, what had stopped first was Mr. Underside on yonder. Now here is some, because this is Mrs. Baxter, and she has agreed to pick up her carless husband on the southeast corner of the shopping center at 5:30. It is now somewhat northwest of 6:30. And although Mrs. Baxter's temper is up, her battery is down. And all because nobody had thought to say, "Charge it, please." The battery, that is. And here we have Mrs. Anthony Frank, whose husband, a very busy type, hasn't had the car up on a service station lift for some months. Hence, Hence, the car had not been seen from underneath. Hence, madam, you're getting out the wrong side. Hence, no one knew the left of line, and the tire was wearing unevenly. Fortunately, Mrs. Frank is the competent type, and she'll quickly figure out how to put on the spare. But don't let it get you down. There's a roadside telephone only a few miles from the highway, and you'll have at least 15 minutes before the rain. Oh, the problem-prone Paul Poppins. If Mrs. Poppins has told Paul once he ought Mr. A.H. Capella, to whom Alfred has mentioned the possibility that those foul plugs probably account for his rough idling, might someday stall Mr. Capella at a location. Now he woke up. And here, yes, Randy, your friend. Randy's problem is a leaky muffler, which with the engine kept running, windows closed. Oh no, they were so young to go. Oh heavens, the engine wasn't running.
Out of gas.
But good heavens, young man, how do you keep warm? Now, regrettably, Eloise Ellison's car has been purring more like a tomcat. And all because Alvin, who lives next door, instead of Alvin covered it up by setting the idle adjustment very high. Embarrassing result. So, in the meantime, Mrs. Susan Staley, who, poor girl, had her hair done only yesterday and almost stick her head into a mobile steam bath. Of course, if she'd had her car done when it was due, the boys would have spotted the worn radiator hose and replaced it before it burst. But anyway, if the pack will just stay in the car quietly while... You stay in the car? Oh my. So, boys will be boys. But where? Hey, miss, have you seen any... Yes. Hey, madam, you haven't seen 10 Cub Scouts, have you? 5? 1? The power for Mrs. Johnstone's power brakes is now foot power, and the reason engine which build the power for the power brakes have not another mature lady Oh, where was I? Because of their concentration on topics more fascinating than fastening their seat out to have an experience which I whoops. Now, proper car care. Proper care right now, but I'll think of something. Looking. Rejoin the den, Mother? Oh, you're already late for the office. Well, somebody must. You. Oh, I asked you, and your answer is undoubtedly no, unless they're in your paper. And you're going to realize in a moment there's something else you haven't seen, not for a long time. And that is the underside of your car on a service station lift. Because then the men would have caught your plugged fuel line filter and cleaned it out, thus persuading your car to purr like a kitten instead of bucking like a bronc. And another sort of thing the boys would have spotted, all out of herself in a moment, is her maladjusted handbrake, which, when her car is parked on a slope, it was parked. Please rejoin the den, Mother. Oh, come, where's the car? This is ridiculous. Oh, there it is. Oh, thank goodness everything's all right. It's needed a good wash for weeks. But here, a car that doesn't need a wash is going to get one. But let's not judge none too harshly, because if he can stretch those worn windshield wipers another season. And you, Mrs. Ippolito, you just tell that garage man, oh, it's your husband you're calling. Well, you tell him he ought to take as good care of your car as own. It may be better, because trouble is tougher on a wife and the children. Your scouts will kindly rejoin the den. Oh, about tying these good ladies into our car care theme. You see, it's a matter of body repairs, because if one keeps one's seatbelt fastened, one keeps one's own body being safe. It's good to give every car a lift often enough so the men have a chance to stop troubles before they happen. You'll be safer, the kids will be safer, and it's sure the way to drive your car and keep your seatbelts fastened.
Well, that's all we have time for this month.
I hope you enjoy all the cars in this issue, and we'll see you again next month.
Hi, I'm Melody Davis, a mock vehicle.
Every Thanksgiving, the Buckeye DeSoto Club has a great Thanksgiving dinner, and they still get a few folks coming there with their DeSotos, even in late with the cold weather closing in. Just great people and great food and great time to talk about DeSotos and other cars too.
This is a DeSoto banner that we members for each club meet that we have.
Welcome everybody here today. It's another great Thanksgiving meeting, and it's sure nice to see so many of us here.
This is the guy that started the original DeSoto Club, and his name is Walters.
I had a picnic at my house and got all the DeSoto owners together at the area, and we had a great picnic and said, let's start a club. So we did, and we had a local Buckeye DeSoto Club, and eventually became the National DeSoto Club, which got about 17 members. But we're still going here, and I think it's been about 17 years together. A bunch of good old friends. I'm Greg, and this is a 56 Fire Dome sedan that has been in my family. It's a lot of road grime and a few little ice. We drove out here and had to drive through some snow today, even though it's melted off here. Got 330 cubic inch Hemi engine in it, new at the factory in Detroit in 1956, and drove it back to Iowa. It's been in the family ever since. Nothing's ever been done to the engine. The carburetor's been rebuilt, 2-speed power flight transmission. For the interior, it's still all original. It's fortunate that it was the planer model. The plastic ones are usually cracked. The model of steering wheel means that the wide white walls on it really dressed it up.
I'm Brian Underwood, and I got a DeSoto Coronado, Fire Dome, and we got it back in the 54 DeSoto Fire Dome Coronado. 3647. It got a 2 Hemi 178 horsepower engine. It's called Yield model, which came out with limited colors. White. It came with a Honda Descent and Coronado with a foul dome front fender. The Coronado was before in 55. Toothy Grill was started back in 1955. This car was built at the Wyoming and Detroit, Michigan. Okay, want me to open the hood up? Oh, start it up.
I'm crawling nickel down up on it. The guy was out of it, and I eventually talked him out of it. So the restoration of it. The two tail lights, the one on the left is standard. The one on the right, boy, to make the holder, and I put a historical plate on, original plate on the other side. The extra headlamps you see in the front was put on for driving safety, which we drive it some of the night. And the seal beams work real good on it. And the other big on it, land the engine, and we just had edging and made it painted back the same color of the body. And then the hand strapping on it is all done by hand. Yeah, there's no visor on it. Oh, okay. But I have it good, and when it rains, it wants to come right back down in it. This is Bob Fox, and he used to be a DeSoto dealer.
I started in 1946 after the war. My father was in there in 1928. 1961 when they come out, well, we only had about rope and we knew that it was all of it. It was personal. They come to you and they say, find a Coke bottle in the door and a two-door hard. Time go back and forth. It was a note. We handed it to the factory. And they told him about it and he said, well, I said, what, fine. So we got laughed about it and went on the factory, tear it down and put it back together.
The official meaning, the slide.
Yeah, it's Hershey High School in the background up on top.
Can't be talking to me then.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Unfortunately caught just a few of
Ken president and founder. He did it at seeing if there were responses too. So
Hi, this is my 19 and it has a 400 kilo. Third seat faces forward and it has a clamshell tailgate. It's all electric.
From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, cars with the straight 8 engines. The 6-way basically adjust just liner wood, and actually had to make it, and we quite a bit of time, but it was well worth the effort, I think.
I bought this car in 19, and this is it in the original wagon show. We got the original, the 332 cubic inch V8.
The power engine made here in the United States, brought it out to the station wagon show. So
the mileage has 132,000 statewide. Been restoring it for the 11. It has horsepower. Restored all original. Interior power seats. Now they're all factory installed items. The only thing you were driving down the road, the traffic light, so you wouldn't have to stick your head out of the days. It doesn't have the new emission controls. Now they're in plastic. The power steering unit is on very unusual setup. Wipers where another thing about the 57, this was your intake on this side. We're still working on it. We're still quite proud of it. Our convention is going to be coming up next year for the Association Convention. We hope to be there with the car.
Everyone knows what that is. It's not See the USA in your Mopar. It's See the USA in your Chevy. Dinah Shore had that for her theme song when she advertised in the 60s. And that was started at back late 60s when I started doing car shows. This car in particular, when I heard miles on it, and New Mexico, that being 2 yards, where Liddy's has power windows, factory cruise control, power brakes, and everything came on, which I've often wondered living well, and so that's my weather permit in the Batavia area where I live,
California, and I'm paid maybe $200. It ran,
I like it. And just driving and driving, I just fell in love with it, and it'll be my friends. The first wagon was basically huge. Some features that they offer.
It was the convention this year.
Okay.
I'm association. I've been to National Convention. The Libertyville's 1998.
Mark Kennedy, this is me3, also a Country Squire. Then we have an 85. I've had this car for about, on my way home, more shape. I don't know much about the shape. It's a 72 Ford Country Squire. It's a little rough around the edges, but nothing I can't handle. I need little things for it. Get the trim redubbed. But I've always loved the wagons. I'm 26 years old. I work with, think I'm crazy for liking one, but I love them.
Hi, my name's Chuck Snyder of a car dealership, and apparently an elderly gentleman had given it to his granddaughter for her first vehicle. And you know, kids these days, the first thing she did was take it in and trade it in. Done original. It's got a few spots on it, the car every day during the summer. It's still mechanically, it's stop. The tailgate, the Ford's something a little bit, you know, you have the access here. Some of the cars came off on standard 6-passenger. The used yard sale, $5 here.
Are you
Reason they knew what it was.
Wow.
That is incredible.
When
does that fit though?
I wouldn't drink of warm water in there. Oh.
The lorry junkyard I go to if able. Maybe there was an extra little hook there. Maybe there's something that I have.
Or what about when there's the seats are in it? Maybe something with the bracket with the seats
at home.
Okay.
In Cleveland, Ohio, is the Cars tour from two of the curators at what they have to offer. But you say,
enter the Crawford Auto. This particular car has an 800-inch 1970s at the Crawford. Those again, 190, and we have probably automobiles in this country. Is a 1924 Model T that personally belonged to Fred Crawford, and this particular car has not run since the 1960s. We're getting right next to it is one of the greatest designs of automobiles ever built. This is a 1937 Cord. It had a supercharged engine and front wheel. This was gifted to us by the family of the original owner, new, and we took that out for weld. When we come to this is the 1930s Winter Special. What's unique about it has probably the greatest of Indianapolis history. It raced, and at its retirement, it was then used in a club. Right next, this 7 cubic inches, but was very light and was capable of speeds upwards of 130 miles an hour. This is a 1924 Red Bug, licensed, and you can drive them on the street, but most were used by children or on estates. This is a 1969 McLaren, 5,000 car ever built. Right next to it is Shea Hall won the Cleveland 500. Right next to it is something quite unusual. It's a not Colt, but it's a Pro C engineered as a hot rod and has an engine possible. It does 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds, and the rear tires are 19 inches. This is a 1905 Model D. It was one of 719 produced. It was Cleveland was the hub of Auto and over 80 brands in the Cleveland area. EcoStar electric van. It's a pro to have a totally electric automobile. Smaller, made in Cleveland. What's unique about it, it has a Knight engine in it. A Knight, the ports line up. These were very quiet and reliable engines to produce. This is another rare Cleveland car. It's a 19, they trans from the full makes. This Model E. This is a very important part of aircraft history, the only intact one in existence. The gentleman that flew this was Al Engel, and he supervised the 48 Chrysler Town and Country. It's as crisp in them. The doors are solid wood automobile, and it runs as good as it looks. So this is a 1960 Martin DB5. Last year we were gifted with this car. It has 23,000 original miles on it. It took 2,900 of this car, and it's capable of speeds upward of 150 miles an hour. This is a 1949 Cadillac Fleetwood Model 75. It's one of 595 that were built, and perhaps the finest in existence. This has an overhead body dias from that 985 new. cars at these in 60s, and this was a time very dramatic styles. Tip of Ohio, and it's a prototype, the only one in existence that we got directly from the factory. There's no other car into the market of producing beer. This car has been sympathetically in the collection. 70 of the cars are currently now running, and we have made repairs who generate over 200 man labor these automobiles. Tip cars work 1903 Cadillac, and Tiers work on automotive to many nursing homes. We are noted one
that have come in the last year or so. King owner here in Cleveland, and Mr. King is a car lover, and he became one of our volunteers and helped us work. Bodies in beautiful, nicest cars we've gotten in a long time. Actually, next to it is a 1939 Lincoln Zephyr, and had a really good point working on the 100 show Wolfers out there. And I'm really honored to have it in our collection now. One thing we also, the parents had or the neighbors had, and cars that they recognize. Good examples of that would be this 1960 Galaxy. This was owned by a local insurance agent, all original condition. So this was from his grandparents. Drove it to school, drove in, took it to cruise-ins. When he got married, he kind of for about 3 hours, all alone, kind of reminiscing. And in fact, was tears when we looking at it and bringing his friends in to see his. One of the greats. This car was entered into an around the world in 80 days rally in the year 2000. They literally overdrove Africa on the finish line and had to be pushed across. And we haven't touched the car since then. I mean, as you can see, it's still dirt. It's got all the repairs they made, everything. The goggles that they wore. Had a CD player from a Bose, but it's a real survivor and diary of the drivers about everything that they went through. And this is probably the one our click on. We're not going to do anything mechanical to it. We're not going to do anything. You can see they removed the back seat and essentially built a platform that they could carry spare parts on, bolted to the inside of the ceiling. They put high-quality racing seats in. It's driving this vehicle. They need to be as. It's really the changes that are making it so wonderful. And we're like, say, we're going to keep the interior, keep it that for the future little set of cars that we have right here. Stainless steel vehicles made by Ford Allegheny Ludlam stainless steel. And this was built as a promotional tool. These were the stainless steel came from Allegheny Ludlam, and they were given to Allegheny Ludlam, Chicago, New York, and they would drive these around all what they drove, except for the fact that the engines had to be replaced frequently because they put hundreds. As you can see, the stainless steel body is still in a market we really don't have to clean. By the time of World War II, collections and products, which made a variety of valves, up a Detroit boat shipped to Cleveland, and the museum in the 1940s also even used it as a staff car because it still ran quite well. Our opportunity with these vehicles, and they were only able to afford one. And then in 1996, again they combined with Foles. So the Crawford is a complete set of the three. Things about Cleveland history that a lot of them know. Part of the 20th century, actually, Cleveland really was the automotive capital. Cheap location. Lying here, this is an electric car, and they were known for high quality electric. The company had actually fairly sizable manufacturers, but a number of them would only produce 1 or 2 cars. We've essentially collected the ones from the larger gained fame for producing trucks. Cleveland, Roush and Lang, Baker in the country. Are really kind of unusual cars just for the creator of the car in the basement of his house. Like I say, several Bakers. They were actually advertised for women to be. And we have several famous cars. These 2 race cars, Bullet number 1 and Bullet. These are some of the first race cars. Some of the first speed records were set by Daytona Beach and Ormond Beach. Henry Ford raced against Alexander Winton. So these are really 2 of the manufacturers. The company built sewing machines until the White Sons decided to, and actually they built some of the Packard, got to start in Warren, Ohio. And he kind of got to start through Alexander of it, and went and told him that our car Packard went out and still runs sometimes to are actually still running, reenacting Alexander Winton's trip to New York City as part of publicity. To make it extremely authentic, we had Mr. Winton's great-grandson, Charles Wake, who is virtually identical to his great-grandfather, drive the car, and he was accompanied by a plain dealer reporter. And certainly to Canada, you have to stop and lubricate. Not only this car sold in Smithsonian Institution, which we are an affiliate of, and they have essentially given it to us on a permanent loan from the Smithsonian, but we'll be one of the few. The quality of our car collection is such. They were requested, so we're looking. And we have some of our cars. This is a 1929 Jordan Speedboy. The car company is kind of unique because they're considered to be the fathers of modern advertising. What they would do is talk about a lifestyle, being in the outdoors, and a Jordan is the perfect. So it's because of Jordan and advertising. Just a wonderful car, beautiful colors. Jordan with great colors. When they look at some of these cars, they have this kind of belief that cars of this era are all dark. They shall be dark. Not so. Manufacturers used bright colors. Really, the whole black thing comes from Henry Ford, who found that the black is bright with bright colors. And we have two in a row that was actually the brainchild of a gentleman by Motor family. Rowland White is the engineer who came up with the boiler for their steam-powered car. He kind of got away from the car business for a number of years and then get back into it, so he created the Rowland Car Company. And these are examples for the Cleveland Tractor Company, famous for, which later was acquired by White Motor. So, and then one of the great Templar. Also the unique thing that was Kodak camera, because you're going to be going all sorts of places in your gorgeous little Templar, so why not take some pictures when you're there? I have a really nice collection of Fords, and starting with this, the few luxury cars, the market was sour, Ford was opposed to it, well received, away from the luxury market, the Model T, which as you can see is relatively colorful, the icon for America, and we have any number of good examples with American ones, but it's a really nice runner, and actually we take it out during the warm weather months. Our volunteers drive it around. Model A station wagon, a Woody, that literally was a station wagon and stopped at a train station in your. We also have a really nice original example of a 1934 Ford. Just a beautiful car. Spent a number of months last year getting it and just run using a lot of public event Mercury convertible. The day we brought this in, we rolled it off the elevator. Behind me, older woman, and she said that she had very fond memories of a back seat of a 1941 Mercury, and she and her boyfriend would neck. So it's the kind of response we like getting from our visitors. And we took the Cleveland debuting their 49. We liked people to see where it came from. We get some excitement of European and American sports cars with these, very popular with our visitors. It's kind of a neat pairing here. We have a 1935 Auburn, and you can really styling that kind of lowest cars of the 1930s. And the styling was so radical off potential buyers. But this is just a car, it's all original. And today the styling is really not that radical. But in its day it was compared flowing lines and you really see where the two differences are. And the American public really wasn't ready yet for the kind of thing it was doing with the airflow. They'd rather prefer the airflows are still to this very unique, reach a nice collection. This is a 19th on display in 1936. And at the end of the expo, this historic car display was going to get thrown away. Products at the time didn't like that idea, so he offered to buy it. And this car, Thompson Project Pistol came. So this is always going to be collection and will always be highlighted. By this time, made by the other brother. And all the other cars. We have the car, small, a Cleveland Motors, Ohio. We also have some really nice Vincent Black Shadow and Vincent Black highly desirable motorcycle. So we grow and be growing that. Who was an investment of Thompson Products, which later became TRW. Products into the public. He donated, at which point we renamed it the Frederick Ford's Memory Museum, but we like that's model here. This is the museum, 2,050,000 square. We'll have a 1930s diner with teaching of motor models of cars and the history of the area. And
you trailer your shows, fun to look at to watch all the old cars.
For so many people been able to buy so much away from home recreation. Pleasure if you place before you and leave the problems to the rear. Here's some everyone done. For quite a while now, being transferred. My family, well, had become a boat. Both of them have miles on them, land and water. In my own what gotten to be an expel operation. A few important details. And of course, to all the safe ones, I run into someone who's got, like that young fellow last. He had a really frightening experience. Could have been tragic. I bought a safety chain. And it's the same in most other states. The hitch should be adequate and attached to the first place. But a strong enough is real insurance. A fellow who can't be rugged enough for the job, but has to be able to support the combined weight of brakes that stop the trailer if it does get away. Added inches. I'm on the road, I see trouble with a trailer that was riding low in back and putting an on the hitch. That his trailer was built with the right center of gravity. But that was all. He was carrying a big lot of other heavy stuff in the rear end. By moving most of the trailer, the problem was solved. With boat trailers, this problem isn't so easy to take care of. It usually means that it's the wrong trailer for the size of boat. Makes for a wrong center of gravity in the place, and the trailer's up. When the trailer wheel tread is often too narrow, so the load is top-heavy. With this situation, the boat could launch itself in the middle of the highway somewhere. As I said before, a great problem if everything is in good shape, and you remember you've got engine. With most trailers, of added weight. I always car and trailer length behind the vehicle ahead for each 10 miles per hour showing on the speedometer. This gives you plenty of time to stop and lets other drivers pass you safely and get back into line ahead of you. Lower seat is hold. Find the first safe place to pull off and let them pass. Otherwise, someone is going to take a chance and get us and make a car in my lap. In case I have a breakdown where I can't pull off the road too well, and I hate to think of that possibility, I always carry a supply of flares for warning purposes. In some states, the law says you must carry flares. On a long hill with mine, which has automatic transmission, I shift and cut down any tendency to straight shift cars into second or even low. Most states require brakes on any good side. They can be lifesavers. At 45, with car brakes alone, it will take over 160 feet to stop. Again, this time with brakes on both the car and the trailer, in about 97 feet, and that's far enough. Incidentally, when being on slippery pavement, try gradually, disking and jackknifing. For myself, if the weather is too bad, I pull in someplace and wait it out in comfort. To have all the same rigs beautifully on the highway, haven't got the hang of backing properly. This can be exasperating and cause mashed fenders and so on, particularly some. Most others would say. It's where secluded. The secret of successful backing is to remember that when you turn the wheel to the left, the rear of the trailer goes right. Wheel to the right. Fix as a reference point. Your back on the rear of the trailer. Action time between the instant you turn the time the trailer responds is usually. Take this, you'll soon become expert at mirrors, electrical connections, clearance lights, as well as the way everything is secured inside and so on. But it's a good idea to remember the old adage about an ounce essential. In my own case, I always think of who before to be sure everything is. Our family goes through a kind of trailer count, and we check every. I'm sure. One more point I don't want to forget. When you've reached the lake or the beach with your boat and are raring to get it launched, don't back into the water after a long trip. Those wheel hubs are metal is expanded. Under these conditions, if they are submerged, water can easily get into the bearings. Later on, the bearings could freeze up on the highway and cause real trouble. And help the process along, a chance to get a... As trailering is one of the greatest never invented. You just pay attention to a few details and to the safe aspects of normal driving situations. Just don't forget you've got that toe on the rear. It affects the way you drive hills, the way you pass, and your legal speed, which varies from state to state. We have the words of that old popular song. Wherever you go, whatever you do, I want you to know I'm following you. So if you bear in mind that the source of your trailer pleasure is all behind, you're bound to get where you're going without any chance of spoiling the fun ahead.
Well, that's all we have. You enjoyed all the cars we brought you? We'll see.